Welcome back, guys, to another Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra video. Today we're going to be doing a full tier list for 1.1 right before the release of Toppo, which most likely will bring us another patch that might massively shift the meta. But as of right now, this is what we are going into for the Toppo patch. Alright guys, you guys know the drill here. We have the full tier list up for your viewing here. You can go ahead and start writing and raging your comments in the comment section below if you want to. But we are going to go through this tier by tier as we usually do. You guys know what I like to do. I like to have the full tier list up so you guys can see it, because most of you are going to skip to the end anyways just to see the list. So there it is for you. If you guys want to get my thoughts, that's what we're going to get into right now. Bojack still sitting at the worst character in the game for a month and a half, I believe, into the game's lifespan right now, and he has not been touched. No buffs have been given to this poor man, and he desperately needs them. He has literally zero value in the current metagame. He does nothing. He doesn't provide a secure. He doesn't provide damage. He doesn't provide DPS. He doesn't provide utility. He's just straight garbage. Do not play that character. He's horrible. And until he gets buffed, that's where he's going to stay, because he does need some massive overhaul right now. The other day I was playing against him and somebody ulted with Bojack, and I was standing behind the little rock, the one little rock in the bot side of the map, and that blocked one of his beams. That's how sad Bojack is in this current state. Moving on from absolute sour taste in my mouth is the Z- tier, which, as you guys know, I do think every character besides Bojack is winnable with. So in the Z- tier, we do have Cell, Android 17, and Dabura. I do think these three are the weakest picks for DPS, tank, and technical in the entire game. For Cell, it is due largely to how weak his early game is. He does not have any early pressure, and early game right now is just extremely important in the game because of how snowbally the game is, and that's why Cell is as low as he is compared to every other tank in the game. But once you do get past Cell's early game, you get him transformed, he is pretty decent. His ultimate's a very good counter for energy-based attacks, and then he also has very good utility with his skill 2 and skill 1 lockdown, and some decent survivability with skill 3 as long as it doesn't get interrupted. However, 17 and Dabura, I think, are just straight up like almost into the Bojack tier at this point. 17's barrier has almost no value because of how short it is right now. The only value that 17 provides is with his ultimate providing the anti-heal and the removal of extra HP. But as of right now in the current meta, there's not a lot of people that are actually healing, so that anti-heal does not get a lot of value. And the extra HP removal, unless you're fighting a Kale, is also next to non-existent. So if you like, there's just very situational, and even if you are using it just to counter the Kale can typically just one-shot 17 before she ults, and then it's kind of just wraps for the boy. So we do have this organized by, there's no like separation of who's better than another. It's just organized by roles. So for Z plus Z and Z minus, it's not a matter of which character is better than each other directly. It's just within their roles, this is the order. But the best in role is just in general, these guys are best to worst, and we'll get to that when we get to that. Moving on from that, we have the Z tier, where we have Trunks as the best DPS, then 18, and then the Gammas. The reason for that is because the Gammas, I think, are just right now the weakest. You can maybe even move them down to the Dabura tier, but they're just not there yet. I think they do still have some value with how strong Core Breaker is. But for the most part, Gammas right now just do not put out a lot of damage. They're very squishy. The HP split between them on Gamma 2 especially is very low, making them very hard to use. But Android 18 and Trunks are both very strong assassin-based characters. You can dive in and get a lot of value with them. But they do have a caveat where they're not very hard to stop compared to other characters. They lack a lot of mobility, and a lot of the times when you go in with them, it results in pretty much immediate death for them, because they are dealing with some of the best tanks in the game getting either provoked or locked down by Cooler, making it very hard for them to actually get their targets. Baby is just here by default because there is a pretty decent gap, I'd say, between him and Cell. Baby can still do some things in lane, and he does provide that extra healing, but even Baby himself is like kind of getting outclassed by the other 4 tanks in the game. But he is there. He's still usable. You can make him work, but he's just not that great. Moving on to Z plus tier, we're going to rock out the tech characters really quick here, as all 4 tech characters, I think at this point in the metagame, are valuable, as Buu has now been buffed and he is in a very good spot. Frieza recently received a buff, he's in a very good spot as well. And Gotenks, the newest character, also a very strong technical, but not overly broken. The main issue that here is that Krillin, because Krillin is the one you see the least out of these guys, Krillin is still very strong. He mainly gets hard countered by the fact that 3Q can just destroy his bombs, but if you know how to play Krillin without his bombs, which is a very easy thing to do as well, he still can get some good value. On the DPS side, we have Oob and Piccolo, both very similar characters, very kite-focused DPSs. But Oob has a little bit more mobility, where Piccolo has a little bit more burst and damage. You can pick and choose your poison with that, but they're both very strong options as well in the Z plus tier. Vegeta and Zamasu, the best 2 sustained tanks in the game, and I would argue also the best actual like tanks in the game. They are the ones that can soak up the most damage, especially Vegeta, and those 2 are going to be holding down the Z Plus here. The only thing that's stopping them from being best tanks in the game is just the fact that they don't have some of these broken mechanics that they have given to Cooler and Caulifla, such as Provoke, as everybody knows, and also the pressure that Cooler applies, as well as his AoE with his ultimate grouping everybody up, leading to some massive team wipes. But now we're going to move on to the best in world tier, which is the only real tier that matters, realistically speaking. Both Gohan and Hit on technical here are very strong, but I would say as of right now, Hit holds the most threatening spot in the entire metagame because almost every team fight revolves around what Hit is doing. Everything is determined. Is Hit in the fight? Is Hit splitting? Is Hit blinding the team? Is Hit on the back line? Is Hit on the front line? It all depends on what Hit is doing, and that is what determines the pace of the fight. If Hit is ulting your team, your 3Q cannot beam anyone. Your kill doesn't know where to aim. Your Cooler, even if you guys are grouping up to try to avoid the hit blind, now you guys are in one position for the enemy team to try to kill you. There's really no direct counterplay to how you play against a Hit besides just straight up targeting him. And a character that's making it to where you have to focus him out of everybody, I think is at a place where it's a problem. And even if you have 4 people focusing him, he still has an insane amount of mobility to just get away. So that is why I would say Hit is right now on the list of probably the character that needs a nerf for most immediately. After that, I would say it's Kale and Riku. Super Saiyan Goku, while he did get nerfed, he's still pretty solid, but he could use a bit more adjustment. I'd say all 3 of those DPS are viable picks. You can choose any one of them and you can have successful games, but they are holding down the DPS for. And there's a bit of a gap between them and everybody else, mainly due to how much better of a secure that both 3 of those DPSs have. The Kamehameha from 3Q still does a very good chunk of burst damage that you can use for a secure while also damaging the enemy team. And he also has his Dragon Fist, which is very instantaneous. But those 3 hold down the 4 for DPS pretty well. Cooler and Caulifla both have been the best tanks in the game for ever since they came out, essentially. Caulifla's Provoke mechanic being probably the most annoying mechanic in the game next to how often Hit blinds you. And then Cooler just being an absolute DPS in disguise and sometimes just wiping whole teams with just his ultimate if he's ahead enough is just absolutely ridiculous. There is no in between. There definitely are just the best 2 tanks in the game. They do lack the sustain compared to the other tanks, but the sustain only matters so long as you don't secure the kills on the enemy team. But the damage that these 2 provide, especially even Caulifla in an AoE setting at level 11, can absolutely shred teams with just her ultimate alone. But this is going to be the 1.1 tier list going into the Toppo patch, which we hopefully will see later today. And with that being said, this is your boy Aizen, signing out.